COVID infected me in October of 2020. I got it through caring for my spouse, who got it from caring for his father, who had it. His father was taken to the hospital and died. My husband ended up in the hospital and nearly died. I'm so glad he didn't. But on this particular day, I was feeling really weak and unwell, and I was laying in bed, feeling as if I was about to pass out. I felt myself slipping away, and I reasoned that if I was feeling this ill, my husband, who was in the den and was sicker than I was, may be feeling considerably worse and may have died, so I got out of bed. But when I did, my feet didn't make contact with the ground. I began walking, but my feet were not feeling the ground. This was perplexing to me, but I continued walking, and a voice or words were uttered to me from behind me, exactly behind my right shoulder. "It's the saints' prayers that keep you going," they remarked. I know this makes no sense today, but I started repeating it since it made sense at the time. As I stepped around the corner from my bedroom, it was as if my right eye had peeled back, and I could look into this other place, this other planet, this other dimension, drenched in this magnificent light. I now realize that this was a curtain or veil, and not my actual eye peeling back. But at the time, it appeared as my right eye was peeling back, and I was gradually able to see through the walls in my house. There were now beings where there were formerly walls, and I was able to see with my left eye. I can't see with my left eye because I'm blind in that eye. But I could see these two hideous things to my left, crouched in the darkness where there used to be a bench up against a wall. They knelt and turned to the right, staring at someone behind me. They were hideous, with skin that looked like reptilian or amphibian skin, and was dark in color. They had legs and limbs as well as long fingernails and teeth, but I didn't stare at them for very long. When I turned to my right, there stood this being, this angel protector, standing there. He was staring at me from below. He was huge and enormous, bigger than my house's roof, yet my house's roof was no longer there. He was a fighter. And there were 4 more like him behind him, where my house's wall should have been. He was wearing a helmet. The helmet was quite well-fitting to his head and was a lovely brownish-bronze color. The way he looked at me, his eyes were incredibly friendly. He was saying something like, "Are you all right? We're checking on you to make sure you're okay." Words like those were spoken to me without him actually saying them. These angels were incredible. They didn't have swords drawn, and I didn't see wings, but they were dressed in gorgeous armor that looked perfect and royal, and the way they stood, they weren't scared of anything, and they weren't angry either. But they were certainly protecting those terrible beasts from harming me and my family. They didn't even have to glance at those beasts, because they were all cowering and snarling and couldn't move. The animals remained in the shadows in the darkness. The angel closest to me, the one who had been hovering over my right shoulder the entire time, made close eye contact with me at one point, and his eyes were filled with excitement and almost a mischievous glee. He seemed to recognize me. He was young yet powerful, and just by looking at him, I knew he belonged to the king. But what was over everything, and what I can't get out of my mind, was the light. It's the most beautiful light I've ever seen, white and golden at the same time, clear and iridescent, like gazing through the wing of a dragonfly. Pure, holy, and flawless. It was love that made the light come to life. It was true love. And I wanted to stay there forever. And the light is known as glory. It's my heavenly Father calling. He is the glory Father. And this light can be seen clear through the veil. When you open the curtain and step inside, it's all around you. But I can't slide past that curtain like I used to. As a result, I'm always on the lookout for this light, during sunrises and sunsets. Light reflections on water during a rainstorm. I'm infatuated with the light and I chase it. But I know it's there even if I can't see it as clearly as I did that day. And there was this enormous gathering of people waiting for me. I was told they were saints and my heart family, and they were all in the light, and it was absolutely amazing. They were all dressed in long robes made of spotless, beautiful linen. I touched one of them's linen, and it wasn't too heavy or too light, and the light was all in it. The gowns were neither masculine nor feminine, but rather royal in appearance. Perfect. Heavenly, and they were unique individuals because they wore the robes, or the robes revealed their special status. Things is possible that I'm not explaining it correctly. There was this one young lady who approached me at one point. She was a little shorter than me and had beautiful light brown locks. Her hands were so familiar. But she was much younger than Mimi. It had to be my Mimi. She was my favorite person in the entire world at one point in my life. I felt love as she delicately caressed my brow. Perhaps it was her. I really hope it's her. But I'm at a loss. But those who were present were all standing about observing. They were standing exactly spaced, not equally, but perfectly. Some were in groups of twos, while others were on their own. They were not, however, gathered together as we would be here. It was large enough for them to see what was going on. They were all watching me contentedly, and they all knew and loved me. But I didn't stop and stare at their faces long enough to notice them. I wished I had stayed. I'm sorry I didn't look. But I couldn't remain or linger since I was frightened about my husband. But there are still so many things going on, so many events piling up on top of each other. There are several events and photographs that I am currently sorting through because there was no time there, unlike here. It wasn't in chronological order. It came to a halt and happened all at once. It's difficult to put into words. So many things remain muddled. So much happened, and I'm still trying to sort through it all and make sense of it all. I'm looking for colors I've never seen before, but I can't seem to find them here. I attempted to draw or paint what I saw, but my efforts were woefully poor and did not even come near. I could see a tree in the distance that seemed so far away, but I knew I had to go see it. I had the impression that Jesus was present and that I needed to see and speak with him. I don't recall walking to the tree, but I do recall being there. Jesus was enormous, and I was a child in comparison. He was seated in front of the tree, and I was standing in front of him. He had my hands in his. I was telling him so many things, but I can't recall everything I said to him. He kept assuring me that everything was fine. I recall him making everything okay. He adores me. He considers me to be his little child. He regards me as a young child despite the fact that I am 52 years old, and I'm finding it tough to accept myself as a 52-year-old lady. Because my Heavenly Father and Jesus perceive me as a small child, I now see myself as a young lady. They regard us all as children. We can be so harsh on ourselves at times. Yes, there is evil in the world, but why are we so hard on ourselves if we are in the light and loving? Simply keep loving and being compassionate. In the spirit realm, you are light, you're walking in light, and it's a really brilliant light. I noticed the light. It was breathtakingly lovely. I saw the shadows and the darkness as well. They're there, but walking in the light isn't that terrible, and we have guardians. As well as a cheering section, it was more real to me than this existence. When I returned to this realm, everything was dark in comparison to the light in the other realm. It's more real there than here, yet what we do here is crucial. I remembered this experience far more simply and vividly than the events around it, what happened before and after it. I wish I could remember what day of the week it was and what hour it was. I remember it being dark outside, but when I turned the corner, there was light everywhere. People have inquired as to the color of the angels. Everything was bathed in light. The brightness was permeating everything. They were a pure color and a light color, yet they did not glow. They looked like guys, but they weren't. There's one hue in particular that I've been looking for and haven't been able to find, and the closest I've come is the color of aged olive wood that has been polished. Perhaps it is also the color of aged bronze that has been polished by fire. But I'm not sure whether that's just their armor's hue. That was the color of their armor. Jesus was dressed in a long white robe. It was rather heavy and had reached his feet. He was dressed in sandals. They were unique, and I'd never seen sandals like that before. They were exquisitely crafted. He was wearing two different styles of sashes. One was a vivid blue color, while the other was yellow. Everything was made of a fine material, not thin as in thin, but finely crafted. Nothing was out of date. Everything was brand new and royal, as befitting a king. This incident has altered my life. I'll never be the same again. I've seen the Father's radiance. I've passed beyond the curtain and seen another realm that is always present with us. We have angel guardians, a heart family, a king, and a heavenly father. However, there is also darkness, shadows, evil, and Satan's minions. I noticed them as well. Because I was in the light, they posed no harm to me. I alternate between wanting to inform everyone and not wanting to inform anyone. People stare at me as though I'm insane. My family is concerned about me. But I've evolved. I'll never be the same again. My hope is in heaven, and I'll never abandon it now that I've seen the light. I've finally seen the light, and I recognize him.